All rise. The Honorable Court is now in session.
Please be seated. This court is hearing the case of Afin Credit Malaysia Sdn Berhad against Yap Yun Fui. The issue before the court is whether a valid contract was formed with reference to offer, acceptance and also consideration. Plaintiff counsel, you may proceed.
Much obliged, Your Honour. Before I call my witness, I wish to place on record the parties present in court today. For the plaintiff, Afin Credit Malaysia Sdn Berhad, I represent them as counsel. Accompanying with me is the plaintiff representative, Ms. Nusra. For the defendant, Yap Yun Fui, he is represented by learned counsel, Ms. Dia. Your Honour, the plaintiff bring this matter before the court because the defendant failed to fulfill his obligation under what he said he is valid hire purchase contract. The issue today concerns whether a contract was formed, especially an offer, acceptance, and also consideration. I now call my plaintiff representative, Ms. Nusra, to explain how the agreement between the plaintiff and defendant came into existence. Ms. Nusra, before we begin, please tell the court why are you here today?
I am here because Afin Credit entered into a hire purchase agreement with the defendant, Ms. Yap Yun Fui, regarding a motor vehicle. I was the officer in charge of handling her application, explaining the terms, and releasing the vehicle. I am here to provide the court with the facts about how the contract was formed.
And is the defendant present in the court today?
Yes, she is seated over there beside her counsel, Ms. Dia.
Very well. So let us begin with how the agreement is started.
Proceed.
Your Honour, Afin Credit offered the defendant a hire purchase arrangement for a motor vehicle. Under this arrangement, he was allowed to use the car immediately and make monthly installment payments.
Good morning, Mr. Yap. Afin Credit can offer you a hire purchase arrangement for this vehicle. Under this arrangement, you may use the car immediately and make monthly installment payments.
So, if I agree, can I take the car today?
Yes, once you agree to the terms and your application is approved, the vehicle will be handed over to you. The monthly installments must be paid on time. If any payment is missed, Afin Credit has the right to take the action.
I need this vehicle for my daily commute.
To be clear, was this arrangement communicated to the defendant?
Yes, the terms were explained to him before the vehicle was released.
So how did the defendant responded to the offer?
He agreed to proceed with the arrangement. Following this agreement, the vehicle was handed over to him.
Alright, I agree to the agreement.
Very well, Mr. Yap. The car is now under your hire purchase agreement.
Your Honour, may I cross-examine the witness?
Yes, you may proceed.
Ms. Nusra, I have a few questions. My client agreed to take the vehicle because he needs transportation, correct?
Yes, he did mention that he needed the vehicle for his daily use.
And there was no negotiation on the terms. It was a standard hire purchase agreement, yes?
Yes, it was a standard hire purchase agreement offered by the company.
That's all my cross-examine, Your Honour.
So what was Afin Credit to receive in return?
The defendant was required to pay monthly installment as consideration for using the vehicle.
As consideration, you are required to pay monthly installments in exchange for using the vehicle.
I understand. I will make the payments accordingly. No worries.
Your Honour, those are my questions.
Thank you, Ms. Nusra. You may step down. The defendants may give the evidence.
Much obliged, Your Honour. For the defense, I call my client, Mr. Yap Yun Fui, to give his evidence regarding the agreement and the circumstances surrounding it. Mr. Yap, please take the witness stand.
Your Honor, I agreed to take the car because I need it for my daily activities, and I understood that I had to pay monthly installments. At that time, I believed I could make the payments.
Alright, Mr. Yap, thank you for the evidence. You may step down.
Miss Nusra, what happened after the vehicle was delivered?
After some time, the defendant failed to pay the several installments.
I admit that I missed a few payments due to financial difficulties, but I did not intend to avoid my obligations.
Your Honor, the evidence are clearly established. The first is a clear offer by Affin Credit. Second, acceptance by the defendant through the agreement and taking possession. Number 3, lawful consideration through installment payments. All essential elements of binding a contract are present.
Your Honor, acceptance must be free and informed. My client did not fully understand the seriousness of the obligation involved. We submit that there was doubt as to whether there was a true meeting of minds.
The law of contract applies an objective test. The court considers what a reasonable person would conclude from the parties' actions. In this case, the defendant agreed to the terms and took possession of the vehicle. This amounts to the acceptance. There was also an exchange of value which satisfies the considerations here. The court finds that a valid contract was formed based on a clear offer, acceptance by conduct, and also a lawful consideration. This case demonstrates the practical application of offer, acceptance, and consideration in contract law. Hereby, the court is adjourned.
So this is the summary of the case Affin Credit Malaysia Sdn Bhd against Yap Yuen Foy 1984 1 MLJ 389 at the Supreme Court of Malaysia, or can be known as the Federal Court. Okay, for the facts of the case, Affin Credit Malaysia Sdn Bhd was a finance company engaged in providing credit finance. In the course of its business, Affin Credit prepared a written agreement setting out the terms and conditions of the financing arrangement. Yap Yuen Foy signed the document, which contained the obligations and liabilities arising from the transaction. Following the signing, Affin Credit acted on the agreement by extending financial facilities in accordance with its terms. Subsequently, payment was not made as agreed. Affin Credit then commenced legal proceedings to recover the outstanding sum, relying on the signed agreement as evidence of a binding contract. Yap disputed liability, contending that the agreement should not be enforced against him and that Affin Credit was not entitled to rely on the document he has signed. So the issue here is whether a valid contract existed in law with reference to offer, acceptance, and consideration under the Contract Act 1950.
Firstly, it's on offer. Under Section 2A of the Contract Act of 1950, an offer is a lawful proposal. The court held that the written document prepared by Affin Credit constitute a valid offer, as it clearly expressed the terms upon which Affin Credit was willing to contract. The second, on acceptance. Under Section 2B of the Contract Act 1950, acceptance must be absolute and unqualified. The court held that Yap's signing of the document amounted to clear and unconditional acceptance of the offer. Once the document was signed, the contract became complete and binding. The third one is on consideration. The consideration was the extension of financial facilities by Affin Credit pursuant of the agreement. The court held that valid consideration exists supporting the enforceability of the contract. The court held that a valid and enforceable contract was formed. Accordingly, judgment was entered in favor of the plaintiff, which is Affin Credit.
The core principle in this case is where a party signs a written agreement and the other party acts upon it, the law will recognize it as a valid offer, acceptance, and consideration, and the contract will be enforceable.